The arena buzzed with anticipation on that humid June evening in New York, 1976. Sweat glistened on foreheads as fans packed Madison Square Garden to witness the legendary Muhammad Ali defend his heavyweight title. The air felt electric, charged with the collective breath of 20,000 souls who had come to see greatness in motion. Ali strutted around the ring during introductions, his cocky smile and dancing feet already putting on a show. "I'm the greatest," he proclaimed, pointing to the ceiling with a gloved hand. The crowd roared in response, a thunderous wave of adoration washing over the champion. If this story has already made you feel something, no matter how small, don't leave without giving back. Comment and tell me where you're watching this video from, and subscribe to the channel. What the audience didn't know, what nobody except a few insiders knew, was that Ali's opponent that night wasn't the man originally scheduled to fight. Jerry Williams, a 34-year-old boxer from Philadelphia with a modest record of 17 wins and 11 losses, had stepped in just 3 days before when the planned challenger pulled out with a training injury. Williams wasn't supposed to be here. His career had been a series of small-time fights, punctuated by enough losses to keep him from the spotlight. He had trained diligently for years, holding onto the fraying edges of a dream while working construction during the day to support his wife and 3 children. When the call came, he didn't hesitate. This was his one shot at the big time, his moment to stand across from greatness, even if everyone expected him to fall. The press had been brutal. "Lamb to the slaughter," read one headline. Ali's exhibition match declared another. Williams had read none of it, focusing instead on the task before him. In his small dressing room, he sat alone, taping his hands with methodical precision. "You don't have to do this," his trainer, Lou Martino, had told him earlier. "Nobody expects you to win. Just stay on your feet for a few rounds. Give the crowd something to watch." Williams had smiled thinly. "I didn't come here to be a punching bag, Lou. I came to fight." As the bell rang for round 1, Williams emerged from his corner with surprising confidence. Ali, perhaps expecting an easy night, circled lazily, his famous shuffle seeming almost perfunctory. The champion threw a few jabs, testing his opponent's defenses. What happened next stunned the arena into momentary silence. Williams, catching Ali slightly off balance, landed a clean right hook that sent the champion staggering backward. For a brief moment, shock registered on Ali's face, a flash of respect and recalculation. The crowd gasped collectively, then erupted. This wasn't the script they had expected. Ali quickly regained his composure, nodding slightly at Williams as if to say, "Okay, we have a real fight." For 3 rounds, Williams held his own, absorbing Ali's increasingly focused attacks while landing enough counterpunches to keep the champion honest. The audience, initially dismissive of the unknown challenger, began to warm to the underdog's courage and skill. Between rounds, Howard Cosell's commentary betrayed his surprise. "We're witnessing something remarkable here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Jerry Williams, a virtual unknown, is giving Muhammad Ali a legitimate challenge. The champion appears frustrated, perhaps even concerned." In Ali's corner, his trainer Angelo Dundee spoke urgently. "He's no pushover, Muhammad. You need to take him seriously now." Ali nodded, the playfulness gone from his eyes. "And I see him, Angie. I see what he's doing." As round 4 began, the atmosphere in the garden had transformed. The crowd now roared for both men, captivated by the unexpected drama unfolding before them. Williams, his confidence growing with each minute he remained standing, pressed forward with increasing boldness. What the cheering fans couldn't see, what the television cameras failed to capture, was the silent struggle happening behind Jerry Williams' determined expression. Each time he returned to his corner between rounds, he winced as his trainer pressed ice against his ribs. where an injury from his construction job had never properly healed. "It's getting worse, Lou," Williams whispered, his breath coming in short, painful gasps. "You want me to throw in the towel?" Martino asked, concern etching deep lines around his eyes. Williams shook his head firmly. "Not a chance. This is what I've worked for my whole life." As round 5 began, Ali increased the pressure, his jabs finding Williams' face with greater frequency. The challenger continued to fight valiantly, but blood now trickled from a cut above his left eye, and his movements had slowed noticeably. In Ali's corner, Dundee had noticed something the rest of the arena hadn't. "Muhammad, I think he's hurt, not from your punches, something else. Look at how he's protecting his right side." Ali's eyes narrowed as he studied his opponent across the ring. The champion had developed a reputation not just for his boxing brilliance, but for his psychological insight, his ability to read men, to understand their strengths and weaknesses, both physical and mental. During a clinch in round 6, Ali whispered in Williams' ear, "You're hurt, brother. Why are you pushing yourself like this?" Williams pushed away, throwing a combination that mostly missed. "Because some of us only get one shot," he hissed back through clenched teeth. Something in those words resonated with Ali. He had been born Cassius Clay in Louisville, Kentucky, rising from modest beginnings to become the most famous athlete in the world. But he'd had opportunities that men like Williams never received: the Olympic gold medal, the early backing of wealthy Louisville businessmen, the attention of the press from the beginning of his career. As round 7 began, Ali found himself in an unexpected moral dilemma. His job was to win, to defend his title. But at what cost to this man who had shown such heart, such determination in the face of overwhelming odds? Williams was clearly struggling now, his breathing labored, his punches lacking their earlier crispness. Yet he refused to back down, meeting Ali's increasingly accurate combinations with stubborn resistance. The crowd sensed the shift in momentum, their cheers taking on a different quality: respect for Williams, courage mixed with the bloodthirsty anticipation of the inevitable knockout. This was boxing, after all. Someone had to fall. In the arena's 3rd row, Williams' wife Sarah clutched the hand of their oldest son, 11-year-old Marcus. They had never seen him fight in such a prestigious venue against such a legendary opponent. Pride and fear battled in Sarah's expression as she watched her husband absorb punishment round after round. "Dad's hurting, isn't he?" Marcus asked, his young voice trembling slightly. Sarah squeezed his hand. "Your father is the strongest man I know," she said, willing herself to believe it was enough. By round 8, Williams was in visible distress. His movements had become mechanical, his defense increasingly porous. Ali landed a devastating combination that sent Williams stumbling backward into the ropes. The referee moved closer, ready to stop the fight if necessary. The crowd rose to its feet, sensing the end was near. In Williams' corner, Lou Martino gripped a white towel, his knuckles whitening with indecision. And then, something extraordinary happened, something that would be discussed in boxing circles for decades to come. As Williams struggled to maintain his balance against the ropes, clearly dazed from Ali's combination, the champion did something nobody expected. Instead of moving in for the finish, instead of delivering the knockout blow that everyone anticipated, Muhammad Ali stepped back and lowered his gloves. The referee looked confused, the crowd's roar diminishing to a puzzled murmur. For a moment, time seemed suspended in the hot, close air of Madison Square Garden. Then, in a gesture that defied every convention of professional boxing, Ali walked to the center of the ring and knelt on one knee. He beckoned Williams forward with a gloved hand. Williams, bewildered, pushed himself away from the ropes and approached cautiously. When he reached Ali, the champion gestured for him to lean down. The referee started to intervene, but Ali waved him off. "Give us a moment," he said, his voice carrying unexpected authority. The arena fell silent as Ali spoke quietly to Williams, their faces close together, the words inaudible to the crowd and the television audience. For nearly 30 seconds, the two men remained in this unexpected tableau. The greatest boxer in the world, kneeling before an opponent he could have dispatched, speaking words that caused Williams' expression to transform from confusion to something more complex, more profound. When they finally separated, those closest to the ring saw something glistening on Williams' cheeks. Tears. Not tears of pain or humiliation, but something deeper. Ali rose and extended his hand. Williams took it, and in another shocking departure from boxing protocol, the two men embraced in the center of the ring. The referee, completely out of his depth in this unprecedented situation, looked questioningly toward the judges' table. The timekeeper shrugged. No one knew quite what to do. It was Howard Cosell who broke the silence, his distinctive voice crackling with emotion over the broadcast. "Ladies and gentlemen, I've been covering boxing for 20 years, and I have never witnessed anything like what we're seeing tonight. Muhammad Ali, in the midst of defending his heavyweight championship, has just shared what appears to be a deeply personal moment with his opponent. Whatever words passed between these two men, they have clearly transcended the brutal business of boxing. When the fight resumed, it was different. Ali still dominated, his superior skill evident in every exchange. But there was a newfound respect in his movements. Williams continued to fight with heart, but the desperate edge had left his efforts. This was no longer about winning or losing. It had become something else entirely. At the final bell, both men stood bloody but unbowed. The decision was unanimous. Ali retained his title by a wide margin on all three scorecards. But as the ring announcer read the official result, it seemed almost beside the point. In the post-fight interview, Cosell thrust his microphone toward Ali. "Muhammad, in the 8th round, you did something unprecedented in heavyweight championship history. You knelt before your opponent in the middle of the fight. Can you tell us what that was about? What did you say to Jerry Williams?" Ali, his face showing the marks of Williams' determined effort, was uncharacteristically subdued. "Some things stay between fighters, Howard. Some moments belong just to the men who share them." Cosell, never one to accept evasion, pressed further. "But surely the public deserves—" Ali cut him off gently but firmly. "What I saw tonight was a man fighting not just me, but fighting for his family, for respect, for a lifetime of dreams. I told him he'd already won, no matter what the scorecards say." The camera panned to Williams, who stood nearby with his trainer, his face swollen, but his eyes clear and steady. When asked for his perspective on the extraordinary moment, Williams simply said, "Muhammad Ali showed tonight why he's not just a great champion, but a great man. What he said to me in that ring, those words will stay with me for the rest of my life." In the days following the fight, speculation ran rampant. What had Ali said to Williams in that moment? What words could have carried such power, such meaning? Sports writers pestered both men for details, but neither would elaborate further. It wasn't until 3 weeks later, when Jerry Williams appeared on a small Philadelphia talk show, that the truth finally emerged. The host, after discussing the fight itself, gently broached the subject everyone wanted to know about. "Jerry, I understand if you want to keep it private, but our viewers are dying to know. What did Muhammad Ali say to you when he knelt in the ring?" Williams was silent for a long moment, visibly struggling with whether to share something so personal. Finally, he nodded, as if coming to a decision. "I was hurting bad," he began quietly. "Not just from his punches. I had 3 broken ribs going into that fight, an injury from my construction job that never healed right. Nobody knew except my trainer. Every breath was like fire. But this was my one shot, you understand. My one chance to be somebody." The host nodded, the studio audience completely silent. When Ali knelt down, I thought he was mocking me at first. But then he looked at me with these eyes, these knowing eyes, and he said, "I see you, brother. I really see you." Williams paused, swallowing hard before continuing. He told me, "You don't need this fight to be somebody. You already are somebody. You're a man who works with his hands all day to feed his family, then trains at night chasing a dream that most people would have given up on years ago. You're a man who stepped into this ring with broken ribs because you promised your son you'd never quit." Williams' voice broke slightly. Then he said, "That makes you the bravest man in this building tonight. Braver than me. Your children aren't watching to see if you win. They're watching to see how you handle yourself when things get hard. And brother, you've already shown them everything they need to know." By now, there wasn't a dry eye in the studio. The host himself wiped away tears. "That's why I was crying in the ring," Williams concluded, "not because I was hurt or embarrassed, but because in that moment, the greatest fighter in the world made me feel like the greatest man in the world." The impact of Williams' revelation was immediate and far-reaching. The story was picked up by major networks, newspapers and magazines. People who had never watched boxing in their lives found themselves moved by this unexpected display of humanity in the most brutal of sports. For Ali, the incident added yet another dimension to his already complex legacy. Beyond his poetic trash-talking, his political stands, and his unparalleled boxing skills, people now spoke of his compassion, his ability to see the dignity in an opponent society had deemed unworthy. For Williams, life changed in ways he could never have imagined. Job offers poured in. A book deal followed. His story resonated with ordinary people who saw in him something of their own struggles, their own unrecognized courage. 6 months later, Ali invited Williams to help train underprivileged youth at a new boxing gym in Philadelphia. Their unlikely friendship became the foundation for a program that would eventually expand to dozens of cities, helping thousands of young people find discipline, purpose, and self-respect through boxing. On the 1-year anniversary of their fight, the two men sat together for a joint interview. When asked what they had learned from each other, Williams spoke of Ali's compassion and vision, but it was Ali's answer that once again captured the essence of something profound. "Boxing is just two men in a ring," Ali said, his voice showing early signs of the condition that would eventually silence him. But what Jerry taught everyone that night is that the real measure of a person isn't in their victories. It's in how they face adversity. It's in getting up when life knocks you down, not just when an opponent does. He reached over and placed his hand on Williams' shoulder. "Some champions are made in the spotlight, others are made in the shadows, where nobody's watching. Jerry was a champion long before he stepped into that ring with me. If you've made it this far and felt every word, won't you leave without subscribing? I tell these stories with my heart in my hands to reach people like you, who feel, who get emotional, who live. If this truly touched you, give back, comment, subscribe. Come be part of this family with me until the next video.